Have you felt it, the weight lifting off your shoulders? Something is shifting, and it's not just in the world around you. It's in your very spirit, in the places you thought were hidden. The truth that once whispered has now become a roar. The story that was meant to be buried has found its voice. Chosen one, you are not here by accident. This message comes straight from heaven, and it's no coincidence you're hearing it now. Your journey, your pain, your survival, they are all part of a divine script written long before you even knew the first line. Heaven has seen every tear, every moment of doubt, every battle that nearly broke you. And now, God says, your story is not for the sidelines, it's meant to change the world. You've walked through fire, through rejection, through darkness. You've been misunderstood, mocked, and mistreated. But those very struggles were preparation. You didn't just survive, you grew. You didn't just endure, you became the very proof that God can take what was meant for destruction and turn it into something that will move mountains. This is not just your testimony. This is divine revelation. What the enemy tried to use to silence you, God is now using to amplify your voice. They thought your story would break you. But you've come out of the flames not just unscathed, but radiant. And here's the truth that many don't understand. When you endured what they did to you, you didn't just survive cruelty. You exposed an entire system of darkness. You peeled back the curtain on secrets, lies, and brokenness that people have tried to keep hidden. The truth about what was done to you isn't just a personal tragedy. It's a global revelation. What happened to you was bizarre, obsessive, coordinated. And here's the shocker. It wasn't just wrong. It was a sickness that society would rather pretend doesn't exist. But you, chosen one, you walked through that madness with grace. While the world tried to script your downfall, you rewrote your own ending. Your story, chosen one, isn't just compelling because of the pain you endured. It's compelling because of the truth you carry. You didn't need to exaggerate, embellish, or sensationalize. You simply told the truth, and the world couldn't look away. Now, as the dust settles, the world is starting to see it. They are leaning in, not to pity you, not to rescue you, but to witness the unshakable power of someone who walked through hell and emerged with wisdom, clarity, and a purpose that can't be ignored. This is your moment. This is your revelation. The story that was meant to break you is now the one that will break the silence. And chosen one, it's only just beginning. If this resonates in your spirit, stand in faith right now. Comment 777 as your agreement that your story is ready to inspire. Like this message as your yes to walking in your divine purpose. Share it so someone else can see that God still uses the broken to move the world. And subscribe, because what's coming next will reveal the why behind the struggle and the incredible mission ahead. God's chosen ones, your story will inspire the world, the dark truth behind your struggles. Your story, chosen one, is more than just a tale of survival. It is a testament to something far deeper, something that the world needs to understand. What you endured wasn't merely mistreatment or jealousy gone wrong. It was a reflection of something much darker, a psychological sickness in those who targeted you. The truth of what happened to you wasn't just the cruelty of others, it was their inability to confront their own emotional decay. And that, chosen one, is the dark truth behind your struggles. You see, the people who came after you weren't just reacting to your presence, they were reacting to the truth that you exposed. When someone carries unresolved bitterness, insecurity, envy, and resentment deep inside, it begins to leak out in ways they cannot control. The moment you entered their lives with your pure heart, your grounded spirit, and your unwavering clarity, it triggered them in ways they couldn't suppress or hide. They weren't upset with you, they were upset with what your light reflected in them. This reminds me of a passage from Matthew 5:14-16, where it says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. When you shine brightly, you expose everything around you, including the darkness that others are too afraid to confront. Your mere existence revealed the emotional illness that had been festering in those who sought to hurt you. You didn't have to do anything, you just had to be. What does it feel like to know that simply being yourself, walking in your truth, is enough to disturb the darkness in others? How many times have you felt the weight of their discomfort, knowing that it wasn't about you, but about what they saw in themselves? They thought your silence was weakness. They thought your calm was ignorance. But you showed them what true strength is. Your story is not just about enduring suffering, it is about unveiling the sickness in others, forcing them to confront the mess they created in their own minds. Psalm 23:4 reminds us that, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." Your presence in the world, standing firm in your truth, shined a light on the lies they clung to. You didn't fight their battle. You simply walked in your own truth, and that truth became the weapon that unraveled their falsehoods. Do you realize that the very things they thought would break you were the things that actually revealed their own lack of integrity? What does it say about someone when they try to destroy you, yet all they do is reveal their own flaws in the process? Can you see it now, chosen one? Every time you rise, every step you take toward healing, you expose the corruption around you. The cruelty you faced wasn't a testament to your flaws, but to the flaws of those who tried to bring you down. Their false assumptions were their undoing. Proverbs 4:18 says, "The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. Your growth is that light." It is undeniable, and as you continue to rise, their darkness will only grow more apparent. Your story is powerful because it shows the world that some people's actions, especially the cruel ones, are not about you. They are about them. It shows that the most powerful thing you can do is stand in your truth and let others' lies crumble. It's not about revenge or confrontation. It's about survival and evolution. Romans 12:21 tells us, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." That's exactly what you did. You didn't fight back. You became the living proof that no darkness can hide in the face of light. Now, as people begin to understand your journey, they will see it for what it truly is. A powerful story of transformation that is not rooted in revenge, but in strength, integrity, and clarity. And as the world witnesses your rise, they will understand something profound. Your struggles were never your fault, but they were always part of the greater purpose you were destined for. Are you ready to see your struggles in a new light? What if the very things that hurt you were the key to unlocking your greatest potential? The truth you carry will inspire the world, not because of the pain you endured, but because of how you transformed it. Isaiah 60:1 calls us to "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." You are the light, your story is the light, and the world will never be the same because of it. I encourage you, chosen one, to share this message with others. If your journey resonates with someone, speak up, leave a comment below, and let us connect. Every story matters, and the truth of your story can change lives. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more empowering content. Thank you for being part of this community, for your strength, your journey, and your willingness to rise. You are never alone on this path. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Keep walking in your light." May your rise continue to shine brightly, and may you always remember that the truth you carry cannot be silenced. Blessings to you, chosen one. Keep shining, keep growing, and know that your story is a gift to the world. There are some people in this world who don't just watch others suffer, they feed off it. Your pain, chosen one, became a type of currency in their lives. It was something they could trade, gossip about, and bond over. Your struggles, your setbacks, and your vulnerabilities became their emotional marketplace. They used your discomfort to feel more powerful, more relevant, even if it meant dragging you down in the process. What they didn't realize was how deeply they relied on your pain to fill their empty spaces. Your name became their entertainment, their talking point, their source of energy. Your suffering fueled their egos, allowing them to feel more important while you bore the weight of their actions. They mistook your silence for weakness, and your struggles for a sign that they were somehow better, more successful, more in control. But here's the thing about any form of currency: it has limits. And your pain? Well, it became too expensive for them to keep spending freely. Every time they tried to break you, you grew. Every time they sought to embarrass you, you found clarity. Every time they tried to use your name to boost their egos, the truth sharpened itself, cutting through their lies. As the Bible says in Romans 8:28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." What they didn't understand was that God was working through your pain to bring about something greater. Every attack was a setup for your rise. At first, they thought it was just a game, a quiet attack, a whisper of gossip that would hurt but never leave a lasting impact. But they miscalculated. What they didn't expect was that each attempt to drain you would, in fact, drain them. Your growth became a rising cost they couldn't afford to ignore. You became someone they could no longer afford to talk about, because your reality no longer matched the narrative they had spun. Psalm 23:5 reminds us, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Your enemies, chosen one, have been forced to watch you rise." They've seen your progress, your strength, and your growth, and they're left with no choice but to acknowledge what you've become. What was once their playground, where they could freely exchange your pain for their temporary amusement, became a mirror that forced them to confront their own actions. They couldn't keep up with your transformation. They couldn't manipulate you or use your vulnerabilities anymore. The stories they told about you couldn't stick to the new version of you. You became too healed for their old tales to hold weight, too aware for their manipulation to work. Isaiah 60:1 calls you to "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." The very things they thought would tear you down only built you up. Every attack raised your value. Every attempt to dim your light only illuminated it further. They wanted you broken because that was the only version of you their fragile egos could afford. But once you outgrew that version, the price of trying to bring you down skyrocketed beyond their ability to pay. They spent years trying to lower your value, but every move they made ended up raising it. They tried to drain you, but it was them who ended up drained. They tried to extinguish your name, but it became brighter than ever. Proverbs 16:3 encourages us, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans." Now, those same people who used your pain to feel powerful are left watching as you rise higher than they could have ever imagined. They see someone they can no longer touch, control, or manipulate. Your pain was once their currency, but now, chosen one, your healing has become their bankruptcy. And isn't it beautiful to realize, chosen one, that your journey isn't about revenge? It's not about tearing them down or confronting them. It's about your elevation, your growth, your transformation that is so undeniable they are left powerless to deny it. You are living proof that nothing, not even the darkest intentions, can dim the light of someone who is chosen. You're not just surviving anymore, you are thriving in a way they can't even fathom. The narrative they built around you no longer holds any weight. Your healing, your progress, your inner peace is the new story now. And that is the one they'll never be able to control. Your story carries weight, not because it's simply about overcoming personal hardships, but because it reveals something far deeper, a system that was never designed to protect you in the first place. Many people face adversity at the hands of one toxic individual, be it a jealous friend, a manipulative family member, or an unfair boss. But your experience wasn't just about one person acting out. It was a series of individuals, environments, and structures that all reacted the same way, with silence, denial, and even more abuse. This is why your story is so powerful. It's not just about one betrayal, it's about a pattern of neglect and mistreatment that points to something much larger. When multiple people from different walks of life mistreat the same person, it becomes clear that this isn't just a personal conflict, it's a systemic issue. It's a reminder that communities, families, workplaces, and even institutions can rally behind the wrong things and ignore the right ones. They valued comfort over truth. They protected the familiar over the innocent. They defended the loudest voices instead of standing with the quiet, honest ones. In your story, you're not just a victim of individual cruelty, you're a mirror reflecting how quickly and easily people can normalize injustice when confronted with someone who threatens the status quo. They're too afraid to challenge. Have you ever wondered how many other voices were silenced because people were afraid to speak the truth? How many others were made invisible, just as you were? Your story is bigger than you, because it unveils this pattern. It highlights how deeply ingrained these systems are in society, how they operate under the guise of fairness, loyalty, and morality, but crumble when the time comes to actually uphold those principles. You weren't just failed by a few individuals. You were failed by the very systems that claim to stand for justice and integrity. And this failure wasn't just a misstep, it was a design flaw built into the system itself. The Bible says in Psalm 82:3, "Defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed." Your story calls for that very justice. It exposes how these systems, be it in families, workplaces, or communities, choose silence, indifference, and protection of the status quo over standing up for what's right. People who watch your story unfold will realize that your experience mirrors something many have gone through but never had the words to express. You're giving shape to a collective truth that often the environments people trust the most, those very places that promise safety and justice, are the ones that turn a blind eye when harm is done. They become places where the powerful are protected and the weak are ignored. What does it say about the systems that claim to protect us when they fail to do so for the most vulnerable? Your story makes it clear that the problem wasn't that you were too sensitive or too outspoken. The problem was that these systems were far too invested in staying comfortable, too focused on maintaining old power dynamics to see the truth. You didn't just face personal struggles, you confronted a system that failed to serve you when you needed it the most. Your rise doesn't garner attention because people pity you. It does because your truth forces others to take a long, hard look at their own environments. It shows them how easy it is for entire groups to fail someone who deserved support and protection. Proverbs 31:8-9 encourages us, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy." Your story speaks for those who have been silenced by these very systems. Have you ever considered how much you've been carrying not just for yourself, but for those who couldn't speak up? And the more your truth spreads, the more people begin recognizing the cracks in their own surroundings, whether at home, at work, or in their communities. People will connect to your story because you've given voice to the feelings they've carried for so long but couldn't express. You've become a beacon for those who thought they were alone in their pain, and now, through your resilience, they know they're not. Your story is not just one of survival, but one of revelation. It exposes the truth that many people live with daily but have never had the courage to speak out about. And that is why it will make you famous. Because your courage, your rise, and your clarity are showing the world what they didn't want to see, but desperately needed to. There's a common idea that you survived because you're strong, but that's not the full truth. Strength alone wouldn't have carried you through the trials you faced. Strength can falter. Strength can break. Strength can run out when the weight is too heavy. But what truly saved you wasn't just your physical strength, it was something much deeper, your spirit. Your spirit refused to let the chaos around you rewrite your truth. as the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 12:9, "But he said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me." Your survival wasn't just about enduring hardships, it was about embracing the strength that God gave you, not to fight back, but to stay grounded in your truth when everything around you tried to distort it. Strength can break under pressure, but your spirit, rooted in something far deeper than any earthly force, refused to crumble. While others tried to twist your reality, manipulate your identity, and reshape your truth to match their own insecurities, something in you said, "No, this is not who I am." You didn't just fight for survival, you fought for your identity, and that's the true victory. As it's written in Psalm 23:4, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." You stood tall in that valley, and your spirit was the staff that guided you. The battle you fought was one of clarity. You didn't allow their chaos to infect your inner peace. They tried to confuse you, break you, make you doubt yourself. But you didn't merge with their madness. Instead, you kept a clean heart, a focused mind, and a resilient spirit. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Your strength wasn't born from your own abilities. It was the grace of God, guiding you when you felt you couldn't go on. And when they tried to make you shrink, to internalize their dysfunction, to forget who you were before their attacks, you held on to that inner truth. You stayed aligned with who God made you to be. Your spirit held the line, and it wasn't because of your own will, it was because the Spirit of God was with you, protecting you every step of the way. This inner resistance, this steady strength, is what makes your survival extraordinary. As Philippians 4:13 reminds us, "I can do all things through him who strengthens me." Your victory wasn't in fighting back with force or anger. It was in your ability to stand unwavering in the truth of who you are, regardless of the lies and distortions around you. You refused to become what they wanted you to be, and in doing so, you displayed a strength that was truly unshakable. What makes your survival extraordinary isn't just the pain you endured, it's that you resisted the narrative others tried to impose on you. You didn't absorb their dysfunction, their chaos, or their false identities. Instead, you kept the essence of who you are intact. You stayed connected to God's truth, and that's what made all the difference. And that's what others are starting to see now. You didn't just survive, you transformed, and that transformation wasn't just physical or emotional, it was spiritual, and God's grace was with you through it all. In the end, you didn't just hold on, you rose. You remained true to yourself, and that is what makes your journey truly miraculous. When they attacked you, it felt personal, didn't it? It felt as though everything they said or did was aimed directly at you, as if you were the target of their rage, jealousy, or disdain. But the truth is far deeper than that. What you experienced wasn't just some random expression of hatred or some isolated incident aimed solely at you. It was part of a systematic ritual that's been used time and time again against those who refuse to conform, those who dare to live outside the limits of a small-minded reality. In John 8:32, it says, "And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." But the truth they were afraid of wasn't about you, it was about your freedom. The truth is, they weren't attacking you because you were weak or wrong. They attacked you because you were a threat. You represented a force that could shatter the very mental cage they built around themselves. You didn't fit into their neatly constructed world, and that terrified them. So they used isolation, defamation, emotional starvation, and spiritual sabotage, time-tested tactics, to keep anyone who refuses to be controlled, quieted, or bent to their will in line. These weren't personal attacks, they were strategic moves in a ritual of control. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us that, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." This battle wasn't against your person, it was against your spirit. What does it feel like to realize that the struggle you faced wasn't just about you, it was about the system trying to control you? Can you now see the bigger picture and understand how their attacks were a reflection of their fear? It started with isolation. They cut you off from your support systems. They tried to weaken the foundation beneath you, making you feel like you had nowhere to turn, no one to rely on. They knew that when someone is isolated, they begin to doubt their own worth. They knew that when you felt alone, you'd be more vulnerable to their manipulation, more open to their distortions. Psalm 27:10 reminds us, "For my father and my mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in." Even in isolation, you were never truly alone. You were surrounded by divine protection, even when you couldn't see it. Then came the whispers, the defamation, the distorted stories, the subtle lies that no one could quite prove, but they didn't need to. They didn't need proof, they just needed an audience. And with each word they twisted, they hoped to break you down, make you question yourself, and isolate you even further. Their goal was to use gossip as a tool to diminish your sense of self, to create a false version of you in the minds of others, so you'd feel smaller, less valuable, less capable. Proverbs 11:13 warns, "Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a thing covered." Their actions were the real slander, not your truth. What would it look like for you to recognize that their version of you was never true? What if their attacks only served to show you your strength rather than your weakness? After the defamation came emotional starvation. They withheld warmth, they withheld validation, they withheld the simplest decency and kindness that any person deserves. It wasn't because you didn't deserve these things, it was because they needed you weak. They needed you emotionally malnourished so that when they came to you, you'd feel desperate for their approval. In your vulnerability, they thought they could control you. Matthew 7:9-11 says, "Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone, or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake?" They weren't offering you bread or fish, they were offering you lies and empty promises. The final layer, the most sinister of all, was spiritual sabotage. They tried to choke your purpose, make you question your gifts, your intuition, and your connection to your higher calling. They wanted you to doubt the very power that resided within you, the power that they feared would expose their illusion of control. They feared what would happen if you realized just how much strength you had, how much you could accomplish when you stood firmly in your truth. You see, you didn't trigger them by being wrong, you triggered them by being free. You triggered them because you refused to live within the small, narrow boundaries they tried to create for you. And when they couldn't fit you into their rigid box, they tried to make the box smaller so you'd fit in. But no matter how hard they tried, you refused. And that is what makes your journey so significant. John 8:36 says, "So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." Your freedom wasn't given to you by their approval or their manipulation. It was given to you by your connection to the truth, a truth that no one could ever take away from you. Their behavior wasn't really about you, it was about them trying to protect a system that was never meant to serve your highest good. They tried to create a mental cage around you, to trap your spirit, but what they didn't understand was that your spirit was never meant to be caged. They tried to rewrite your story, but God had already written your destiny, and in the end, they didn't break you, they exposed themselves. Your resistance wasn't just about surviving them, it was about refusing to let them dictate who you were meant to be. Romans 8:37 reminds us, "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." Their ritual failed, and your story, it's the one that will inspire the world to rise above the cages built around them. Your freedom is the loudest testimony against the chains they tried to place on you. Your truth is your shield, and it will be a beacon of light for others to follow. Their obsession with destroying you wasn't just an attack on you, it was a diagnosis of what was going on inside of them. From the outside, it may have appeared like relentless hatred, jealousy, or the desire to see you crumble, but the truth is much more profound. Their fixation on you, their need to tear you down, wasn't personal. It was a reflection of their own internal battle. John 8:32 reminds us that, "And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The truth is, your presence, your mere existence, challenged everything they believed to be true about themselves. They didn't want to see it, but you exposed them in a way they couldn't hide from. Their obsession was never about who you were, it was always about what you represented. You triggered things inside them they'd spent years avoiding: old guilt, hidden shame, insecurities masked by arrogance, failures dressed in the robes of ego. These weren't things you actively brought up. You didn't need to point fingers or dig into their past. You didn't need to say a word at all. Your growth, your clarity, your authenticity did that for you. James 1-5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." You didn't have to ask for this wisdom. It was part of your spirit, a gift that you carried, whether they wanted to see it or not. But what they didn't realize is that their desire to tear you down wasn't just about your strength or your mistakes. It was about their own fear of what your authenticity made them face within themselves. Proverbs 27-19 tells us, "As in water, face reflects face, so the heart of man reflects the man." You weren't trying to confront them. You were simply reflecting back to them the image of who they had become, fractured, afraid, and disillusioned by their own internal conflicts. Your strength was never in what you did to them, it was in what you didn't do. You didn't let their hostility drag you into their world of confusion. You didn't shrink in response to their attacks. Your consistency, your grounding, your willingness to rise above their chaos was the very thing they feared the most. Isn't it curious how someone can be so fixated on your weaknesses, yet their reaction to you reveals so much about their own? Every time they tried to label you as weak or flawed, every time they tried to make you question your worth or your value, their actions revealed their own shortcomings. Their goal was never to see you fall. It was to create a narrative where they could feel stable, where their truths weren't questioned, where their ego wasn't exposed for what it really was: fragile, built on false perceptions, fragile illusions of superiority and control. But every time you held your ground, every time you refused to be broken by their lies, you chipped away at the false narrative they had built around themselves. They didn't just see you rise, they saw the foundations of their own world shift beneath them. Matthew 7:15-16 warns us, "Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them." You didn't need to confront them. Your mere presence, your authenticity, your refusal to be manipulated, exposed them for what they truly were: people who relied on illusion to maintain their power. Their obsession with you was a reaction, not to your weaknesses, but to the light you carried that showed the cracks in their carefully crafted facades. The more you lived in your truth, the more they had to confront their own lies. Their hostility toward you was never a reflection of who you were, but of who they had become through their own avoidance of truth. Romans 8:28 teaches us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Your purpose was not to destroy them. You were simply fulfilling your divine calling to live in your truth, to rise, to heal, and to evolve in ways that made them confront everything they had buried deep within themselves. You didn't even have to fight back. Your mere existence, your peace, your grounded spirit, your unwavering strength became the very thing that rattled their stability. They were not just fighting your presence, they were fighting what they saw in themselves through your clarity. What they saw reflected in you was a truth they couldn't handle. Your strength was a mirror to their weakness, and that reflection, in all its honesty, shook them to their core. Have you ever stopped to think about the quiet, subtle ways people are affected by your presence? It's not always in the things you say. Sometimes, it's simply in the way you live your life that forces others to confront their own inner turmoil. Isn't it something how your consistency, your ability to rise above, can become the very thing that forces someone to reckon with the lies they've built their life on? Isaiah 61:7 declares, "Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance." The shame that they tried to place on you, the narrative they tried to create about you, is now your inheritance. You've risen, and in doing so, you've shown them that they were never in control of your story. Their obsession with you was never about you. It was about what your existence exposed in them. If they had done the inner work, if they had healed from their past, if they had been at peace with themselves, your presence wouldn't have bothered them. But because they couldn't face their own darkness, they projected it onto you. You weren't just a threat to them. You were the one who made them face the things they had long buried. Have you ever wondered why people who are deeply unhappy seem to focus so much on tearing others down? Could it be that they're simply trying to distract themselves from their own lack of fulfillment? And how does it feel, knowing that every attack they launched only showed you who they really were, someone who couldn't handle the light you were shining? As you continue to rise, as you continue to heal and grow, your existence will continue to challenge others in ways they cannot ignore. You don't need to speak or fight back. You simply need to exist, to keep walking in your truth. Every step you take is another step toward freedom, both for you and for those whose lives are disrupted by your authenticity. John 16:33 assures us, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." And in overcoming their attempts to silence you, you are teaching others that they too can stand tall in the face of adversity. Remember, their obsession with destroying you wasn't really about you. It was about their inability to accept what you represented: truth, authenticity, and the courage to live freely without apology. You became their mirror, and for that, you will forever be a light in the darkness. Your story, chosen one, is not just a tale of survival. It is a testament to the power of authenticity and the depth of human envy. It carries a weight that will resonate through time, revealing the dark truth of how far people will go to attack what they cannot become. When you walked into their lives, it wasn't just your presence that disturbed them, it was the light you carried. This light exposed the parts of themselves they either ignored or despised. It wasn't your achievements or your successes that riled them up. It was simply who you are, unapologetically you, shining in a way that reflected everything they lacked. Luke 6:22-3 reminds us, "Blessed are you when people hate you, when they exclude you and insult you, and reject your name as evil because of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, because great is your reward in heaven." The truth of your story is that the more you embodied who you are, the more others tried to dismantle that very essence. They couldn't understand you, couldn't digest the strength you exhibited with such ease. Your grace, your ability to handle life's challenges with quiet confidence, became a mirror they couldn't bear to face. They tried to break you, not because of your weakness, but because your strength served as a stark reminder of their insecurities. They were not fighting against you, but against what you symbolized: freedom, independence, and authenticity. They couldn't understand how someone like you could rise so effortlessly. Every time you overcame something that was meant to destroy you, they were confronted with their own unresolved battles. Every time you stood firm in your beliefs, in your self-respect, they were reminded of the countless times they remained silent, the moments when they chose to bow to fear instead of rising above it. Your kindness, which they saw as your strength, became a weapon they sought to exploit. They took your empathy as permission to drain you, to siphon off your energy, your light, until you had nothing left to give. But their mistake wasn't in recognizing your compassion. Their mistake was in assuming that your compassion was a vulnerability, a weakness to be preyed upon. They thought that your willingness to support and uplift others meant you could be used. But in reality, your compassion was the armor they never understood. Matthew 5:44 encourages us, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." This message resonates in your journey because you loved in a way that threatened their carefully constructed world. They couldn't handle your consistency, your unwavering spirit, your ability to love without needing anything in return. You gave freely of yourself, and when they couldn't reciprocate, they took advantage. They mistook your generosity for a lack of boundaries. But what they didn't realize is that your ability to stand strong in your truth and love others unconditionally was, in itself, a declaration that they would never be able to control you. You were a constant reminder to them of what they couldn't create for themselves. And that, chosen one, is what made you a target. 2 Corinthians 12-9 says, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me.'" Your power didn't lie in your ability to fight back. It didn't lie in your response to the attacks they launched at you. Your power came from your refusal to bend, your decision to stay true to yourself, no matter how hard they tried to pull you into their version of reality. Their need to control you wasn't about you being flawed. It was about their inability to control the purity of your spirit. They couldn't handle the fact that you refused to let them mold you into something you weren't. They wanted you to shrink, to adapt, to become pliable in their eyes. But instead, you grew, you evolved. Your growth was a direct threat to them because it forced them to confront what they had failed to nurture within themselves: freedom, authenticity, and individuality. They weren't attacking you because you were weak. They were attacking you because your existence was everything they could never become. They couldn't replicate your light, your strength, or your spirit. And that frightened them more than anything. They weren't upset by your flaws, your mistakes, or even your failures. No, they were terrified of the fact that you had the courage to stand tall in the face of it all. You refused to be a reflection of their world, and in doing so, you became a mirror to their inadequacies. Romans 8:37 reminds us, "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." You weren't just surviving what they threw at you, you were conquering it. You were more than their attempts to tear you down. You became undefeatable, not because of your strength, but because of the truth you carried inside of you, the truth that refused to be contaminated by their manipulations. And now, here you are, standing tall, shining even brighter, while they are left in the wake of their own insecurities, watching in silence as the very narrative they created about you crumbles under the weight of your truth. Your rise doesn't need to shout. It speaks volumes through your very existence. Have you noticed how the more you grow, the more people who once tried to silence you are left scrambling to make sense of your journey? How does it feel, knowing that your evolution is forcing them to face their own unresolved shadows? As you move forward, know that the more you rise, the more their attempts to hold you back will fade. They will try, but the truth in you will always stand stronger than their insecurities. Keep walking in your truth, keep shining, and know that your existence is a testament to the power of resilience, the strength of authenticity, and the courage of living unapologetically. Your story is legendary not because of the pain you endured, but because it exposes the limits of a world that tries to control, manipulate, and mold people into something they are not. And in that truth, you find your freedom. Your journey, chosen one, is one that's not just about enduring pain, it's about waking up from the mental prison others tried to trap you in. The most disturbing part of your story isn't the abuse itself, but how they twisted and normalized it in such a way that you began questioning your own reality. The cruelty they disguised as casual behavior was a psychological game, a mind manipulation that made you doubt your perceptions, your worth, and your truth. They didn't just hurt you, They worked tirelessly to make you feel crazy for not accepting it. Psalm 34:17 offers comfort here, saying, "The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles." You, chosen one, cried out for help, and, though they tried to silence you with confusion, your strength to seek clarity and stand firm has led to your deliverance. They dressed their mistreatment in normalcy, wrapped their emotional abuse in harmless jokes or the ever-dangerous, "It's just the way things are." They transformed cruelty into routine, creating an environment where the abnormal became the new normal. The brilliance and the horror of what they did was in their ability to manipulate you into believing that you were simply too sensitive, too dramatic, or even too unreasonable for not tolerating their behavior. It wasn't just the mistreatment that stung, it was the psychological conditioning that followed. They rewrote the narrative, twisted your words, and changed the truth to make you feel like you were the one out of line. How often have you been made to feel like your truth was an inconvenience to their comfort? The real damage wasn't in their words or actions. It was in the mental fog they created. Confusion is one of the most dangerous forms of psychological manipulation. It's a subtle trap. It doesn't require walls or chains, it simply requires you to doubt yourself enough to remain stuck in their version of reality. Confusion makes you second-guess your instincts, your memories, and your truth. They didn't want silence from you. Silence could break. It was your confusion they sought, the paralysis of your mind that would keep you in their control without them ever looking like the ones pulling the strings. How many times did you question your own feelings as they tried to twist the narrative, labeling you as overreacting? How often did their smiles disguise their cruelty, making you wonder if you were simply too sensitive to handle the things they were saying or doing? And how much time did you lose doubting yourself when your instincts screamed that something was wrong? They built this confusion slowly, over time. Every subtle insult, every slight, every moment where they dismissed your pain as no big deal, piled up and wore down your sense of self. They needed you to doubt yourself, to doubt your worth, to be too afraid to stand up and say no, because they knew that the moment you saw through their illusion, their power over you would dissolve. 2 Corinthians 4:2 reminds us, "Rather, we have renounced secret and shameful ways. We do not use deception, nor do we distort the word of God. On the contrary, by setting forth the truth plainly, we commend ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of God." You were forced into silence and confusion, but now you speak the truth plainly. You see through the deception, and what was done in the darkness is now being revealed by the light. That's why their attacks, though they seemed subtle, are now being exposed for what they were. Not misunderstandings, but strategic manipulation, designed to weaken your mind, not your body. But here's the miracle: you broke free. Your escape wasn't physical. It wasn't even emotional at first. You escaped mentally, spiritually. You reclaimed your mind, your clarity, your identity, and with that reclamation, everything they tried to hide became crystal clear. It wasn't just about the obvious signs of manipulation. It was about the subtle web they weaved, the way they poisoned your reality without ever saying it outright. Romans 12:2 warns, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." You, chosen one, began to renew your mind. You stopped conforming to their distorted version of reality. You began seeing through their fog, understanding your own truth, and refusing to let them dictate what was right or wrong for you. Their version of reality wasn't yours. And by reclaiming your mind, you began to rewrite your story. Your growth, chosen one, is what's truly jaw-dropping to others. The fact that you didn't just survive what they tried to do to you, you transcended it. You began to see through the lies they whispered in your ear, the manipulation they tried to normalize, and the fog they attempted to create. But you didn't let it define you. You rose above it. And that's why they couldn't control you. They tried to make you question your instincts. But now, as you look back, you see just how deeply their lies ran. And here's the deeper truth. They were never really attacking you. They were attacking the light you carried, the light that exposes darkness. You weren't their enemy. You were the mirror they feared to look into. Their behavior wasn't about you. It was about their inability to handle your clarity, your strength, your ability to see the world for what it really is, not through their distorted lenses. Proverbs 12:1 says, "Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid." Your willingness to accept the truth, to rise above their lies, to look directly at the mistakes they made, that's what they couldn't handle. They wanted you to stay small, to remain confused, to remain powerless, but you didn't. You refused. You broke free from the mental cage they set for you, and in doing so, you broke their power over you. In the end, what they never expected was the strength of your mind, the power of your spirit. You didn't need them to change. You didn't need them to acknowledge your worth. What you needed was to remember your own power, the power of clarity, of truth, of self-respect. And when you found that power again, they lost their control. You see, chosen one, what they did to you was never truly about who you were. It was always about their desperate need to protect a version of themselves that could no longer stand up to the reality you presented. The moment your truth began to shine, it exposed the cracks in their carefully constructed image. They couldn't survive in the light of your authenticity because it forced them to confront their own darkness, their own flaws, their own hidden fears. So, they did what many do. When their own reflection becomes too painful to bear, they tried to turn the tables. They made you the villain, not because you were wrong, but because they couldn't face what was wrong in them. Your very presence challenged the stories they told themselves, the masks they wore to the world, and the illusions they depended on to feel safe, respected, and superior. But here's the thing, they couldn't rewrite their own character, so they rewrote yours. Their words weren't observations, they were shields. Labels like difficult, ungrateful, or too much weren't there to describe you. They were there to protect them from the truth. Because if they had to face the truth, the fact that their behavior was toxic, unjust, and abusive, they would have had to deal with their own guilt. And that was something they couldn't afford. Their story had to stay intact. So, they crafted one about you, one where you were the villain, the problem, the one at fault. They twisted the narrative to fit their narrative. Every time you spoke the truth, even in whispers, they felt exposed. Your silence was the loudest truth of all. They tried to destroy you, to sink you, to bury your reality before the truth could emerge. They fed people half-truths and exaggerated your flaws, painted you as irrational or dramatic, perhaps even unstable. But in reality, they weren't trying to protect themselves from you. They were trying to protect themselves from the mirror your existence held up to them. Isaiah 5:20 reminds us, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." What they did to you was not just an attempt to silence you, but a distortion of reality, a manipulation of truth. They wanted to twist everything about you to fit the narrative that justified their actions. But deep down, they knew what they were doing, and the longer they tried to hide their truth, the more you shone in their lives like an unrelenting light. But you didn't play their game, chosen one. You didn't have to. Their attempts to make you the villain weren't about you fighting them. They were a confession, a sign of fear. They feared you, not because of what you could do, but because of what your truth exposed about them. Only those who have something to hide work overtime to distort timelines, to rewrite history, to manipulate others into believing lies. It was never about defending themselves. It was about keeping their own image intact at all costs. As you stepped into clarity, the very foundation of their lies began to crack. The stories they spun about you stopped making sense because they weren't rooted in anything real. The mask they wore to cover their guilt started slipping, and with every move you made toward healing, your truth became undeniable. Their version of events aged poorly, and people started noticing the inconsistencies in their story. The world began to see the truth they had desperately tried to hide. But your truth, it stood the test of time. It didn't need defending. It never needed validation. And the more you stood in your clarity, the more their lies unraveled. They didn't realize it at the time, but every attempt to bury you only made you rise higher. Your resilience, your growth, and your authenticity became the story they couldn't control. Psalm 118:8 reminds us, "It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans." Trusting their narrative was never going to be the answer. The truth of your spirit, your resilience, your journey that was your foundation, that is what sustained you. Not their lies, not their projections, but the strength of your truth and the power of your own being. Their fear was that you would see through their illusions, and you did. The more you healed, the more you grew, the more the truth of who you are began to overshadow their false narrative. You became the living proof of their falsehoods. They couldn't hide from it anymore. You didn't need to scream or demand attention. Your clarity was enough to make their distorted truths fall apart. Luke 12:2 teaches us, "There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known." You didn't need to expose them. Your life, your healing, your truth did that all on its own. They wanted to make you the villain to distract from their guilt, but the more they pushed, the clearer it became. They were the ones who needed to face the truth, not you. You were never the problem, they were. And the more you continued to walk in your truth, the more their story collapsed under the weight of its own lies. Have you ever wondered what it would have been like if they had simply accepted your truth instead of trying to suppress it? How much easier would your journey have been if they just let go of their need to control your narrative? How does it feel now, knowing that their false story of you is crumbling and the real you is being revealed to the world? And now, with everything they tried to bury exposed for what it is, you stand in the light of your truth. And that light, it's not just a light for you. It's a beacon for others who have been silenced, who have been painted as the villains in their own stories. Your story, chosen one, is a reminder that truth doesn't need defending, it needs living. The more you stand in your light, the more others will find their own. Psalm 23:4 tells us, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." Through all the challenges, the betrayal, the manipulation, you walked through it with God by your side, and now the light of your truth shines brighter than ever. You didn't just survive their attempts to destroy you, you thrived, and in doing so, you became the living proof of the power of truth, integrity, and faith. Your story is destined to make waves, not because of the trials you faced, but because it does something no one expected. It shines a light on the hidden structures of darkness that have silently governed people's lives for generations. You didn't just survive abuse, you became the blueprint for how to recognize and escape it. The power in your story isn't just in the pain you endured. It's in how you decoded the system of harm that thrives in silence, manipulation, and deceit. Most people wander through life sensing that something is wrong, but they can never quite put their finger on it. They feel the discomfort, the emotional dissonance, but they don't know how deep it runs or where it starts. But you, chosen one, saw the roots. You walked through darkness, yes, but you mapped it, step by step. You didn't just survive. You saw the pattern, the game of pretending love while practicing control. The careful layering of manipulation beneath the guise of politeness. You recognized the way abusers hide in positions of power, cloaked in respectability. You noticed the subtle signs, the isolation, the shifting of narratives, the unspoken rules that protect predators while punishing those who speak truth. You didn't just witness this reality, you decoded it. And by doing so, you became the unintentional architect of the map that others would follow to freedom. In John 8:32 it says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Your story is not just about your survival, it's about setting others free. It reveals the truth in ways that most could never articulate before. People will read your story and see their own lives reflected back at them. They'll begin to recognize the patterns of behavior they once thought were isolated incidents. They will finally have the language to describe the manipulation, the isolation, and the quiet forms of emotional and psychological abuse they endured. And in that recognition, they will find the first step toward healing, not just personally, but as part of a larger collective awakening. Through your experiences, you've shown the world how manipulation hides behind kindness, how abuse can wear the mask of respect, and how entire systems, be it family dynamics, social circles, workplaces, or even entire communities, can support the wrong people while simultaneously silencing those who try to speak the truth. Your ability to see this and name it is the revolution. Most people are kept in the dark about these dynamics, not because they're weak, but because those in power have built walls around their dysfunction. Walls that, until now, have remained largely impenetrable. Your story forces the world to see what it's been blind to. It makes the invisible visible. It reveals how psychological abuse can be more insidious than physical violence because it takes root inside the mind, slowly eroding a person's sense of self until they doubt everything they know to be true. But you, chosen one, did what many could not do. You reclaimed your truth. You found the cracks in their perfect facade and you walked through them. And in doing so, you paved a path for others to do the same. In Ephesians 5:11, we are called to have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. Your story is the exposure. You have, in your own quiet way, exposed the very foundation of the darkness others live in. Not because you wanted revenge or because you sought to harm those who wronged you, but because you recognized the truth. The only way to fight darkness is with light. Your existence, your journey, and your rise are proof of what happens when someone stands in their truth. It shows the world that healing is not just about personal redemption, it is about societal and communal restoration. When one person is freed from this darkness, it ripples out, creating the possibility of healing for many. Your story gives shape to something many people have felt, but could never articulate: the collective experience of those who have been manipulated, silenced, and torn down by systems that thrive on their suffering. 2 Corinthians 4-6 reminds us, "For God, who said, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Christ." Your story is an embodiment of that truth. The light in you was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to shine so brightly that the darkness could not help but retreat. And just as the truth reveals light, your journey of survival has given others permission to step into their own light, to find their own voice, and to reclaim what was stolen from them. Your resilience will not just be seen, it will be studied. It will become a guide for others who find themselves trapped in environments that seem impenetrable. They'll look at your timeline, your journey, and they'll understand that what they've been through wasn't just bad luck or misunderstanding. It was part of a pattern, and now they'll have the tools to break free, just like you did. Your rise doesn't just teach survival, it teaches freedom. Freedom from the toxic systems that trap people in silence, freedom from the guilt that keeps them bound, and freedom from the manipulation that makes them question their own truths. Psalm 34-18 reassures us, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Your story proves that, chosen one. It proves that even in the deepest darkness, when all seems lost, there is a light that will guide you out. And now, that light is leading others to safety, showing them where to step next. Have you ever wondered how many people around you have been quietly suffering, too afraid to speak up, too unsure of their own truth? How many of them are still stuck in the systems of manipulation that you've broken free from? And have you ever stopped to think about the power your story holds? The power it has to transform lives, to shift entire communities, to make the invisible visible. You didn't just survive your trauma, you've become the map for others to follow. You've given them the blueprint to navigate their own dark waters, and in doing so, you've made the world a little more honest, a little more just, and a lot more ready to face its own shadows. Keep walking in your truth, because the world is waiting to follow. Your innocence was never hidden, but the world tried to bury it under layers of lies and distractions. What they didn't realize, though, is that the truth is patient. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to bend to the false narratives created by the guilty. It simply waits. Your innocence was clear from the start, not in the way you spoke or even in what you said, but in the very steadiness of your existence. Your actions aligned with your values. Your intentions were reflected in your behavior. You lived truthfully, and truth, especially when it's rooted in pure intent, has a way of becoming undeniable, no matter how hard people try to ignore it. Guilty people can't hide from the light of innocence. It's too revealing, and this is where their fear lies. The innocent don't have to explain themselves. Their actions speak louder than words ever could. Your transparency in everything, from the way you conducted yourself to the way you dealt with others, was the glaring truth they couldn't twist. You didn't need to prove your honesty, because your life was the proof. But the guilty? They need confusion. They need you to bend, to question yourself, to doubt your truth. They can't stand your clarity because it makes them confront their own darkness, their own lies. This is why they tried to distort the truth. They didn't want to see what was so plainly in front of them, because acknowledging your innocence would have required them to see their own guilt. They couldn't bear the possibility that the life they built on falsehoods might come crumbling down if they faced your consistency. People who live in guilt understand one thing deeply. Exposure is the greatest fear. So they did what the guilty always do. They tried to bury the truth under layers of stories, assumptions, and half-truths, pretending not to notice the glaring reality. The greatest weapon of the guilty is misdirection. They don't need to prove you're wrong. They only need to make you question whether you're right. Your steadiness exposed their fragility. It showed them for what they really were: imperfect, manipulative, and insecure. You didn't react to their games. You didn't stoop to their level, and that alone was enough to drive them to create lies about you. Their only defense against your clarity was to cloud the truth with confusion. But even confusion can't hold back the truth forever. In John 8:32, it says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Your story shows exactly how true that is. The truth doesn't need a stage to be spoken. It doesn't need applause to be heard. It emerges in silence, slowly building momentum, until finally it rises above the noise of lies. The people who tried to bury it are the ones who are trembling now, because the truth they worked so hard to suppress is finally being seen for what it is: unavoidable, undeniable, and strong. Have you ever wondered how often we let the noise around us drown out our own truth? How many times have we allowed ourselves to be convinced that the lies we're told are somehow more real than the reality we live in? It's easy to get lost in the chaos of false narratives and distractions, but you, chosen one, have shown the world that clarity cannot be compromised. Your quietness, your peaceful confidence in your truth, is now louder than any lie they tried to create. It's said that the guilty often make the mistake of thinking that by lying long enough, they can get away with it. They think that by suppressing the truth, they can control the narrative. But you're living proof that the truth doesn't die. It simply waits for the right moment, the right time to come forth and reveal itself to the world. And when that moment comes, it speaks louder than any lie ever could. In Romans 2:16, it is written, "This will take place on the day when God judges people's secrets through Jesus Christ, as my gospel declares." The day is coming when the secrets, the manipulation, the lies, all of it will be judged. Your truth is part of that reckoning. You may have been misunderstood, misrepresented, and misjudged. but your truth remains untarnished. Even if others couldn't see it, even if they tried to drown it out with their accusations, your light, your innocence never wavered. And now, as the layers peel back, the truth stands tall. You weren't just subjected to the cruelty of a few individuals. You were the mirror that forced them to confront what they could never face. They misjudged you, yes, they twisted the narrative. But in doing so, they only revealed to the world just how fragile and insecure they really were. By trying to diminish you, they only exposed their own darkness. Your light shone too brightly for them to hide their shadows. It was never about you being wrong. It was about them not wanting to face their own truth. Have you ever been in a position where you had to fight for your truth, even when everyone around you tried to bury it? How many times have you been told that you were too sensitive, too dramatic, too emotional, simply because you wouldn't accept the distortion of your reality? It takes courage to stand in your truth, especially when it's under attack. But remember, chosen one, that your truth isn't something they can take from you. It's yours by divine right. In Psalm 25:5 we are told, "Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are God my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long." Your truth is not just your own, it is a divine gift, a guiding light that leads you even when the world tries to pull you into darkness. They wanted to erase your clarity. They wanted to distort it, twist it, and replace it with something they could control. But your truth is unbreakable, and now they are forced to confront it, whether they want to or not. Do you feel the weight of the truth you've been carrying, the one that has always been within you, even when the world tried to cloud it? Do you understand now that your truth wasn't just about surviving? It was about showing others the way out of the lies they've been living. Your truth is powerful because it gives others permission to step into theirs. In Proverbs 12:19, it is written, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." The lies they told about you will eventually fade, but your truth, it will last forever. The more you stand in it, the more the world will see it for what it is, unstoppable, undeniable, and real. What does it feel like to know that your truth is not only being revealed, but that it is changing the very foundation of the lies others built around you? You're no longer living in the shadows. Your truth is coming into the light, and the world will see it for what it is. The moment you realized that their cruelty didn't break you, but rather broke the illusion that you needed them, was the moment you began your true journey of freedom. It's a hard truth to face, that the people you thought you could trust, the ones you believed had your best interests at heart, were actually holding you back from your own growth. Their cruelty was never about you. It was about their need to keep you in a position where you believed you needed them. And once you saw that, you became free. For so long, you had been conditioned to see these individuals as the foundation of your life, the people you needed for support, love, and guidance. Maybe you were taught to rely on them, to seek their approval, or to believe their promises of loyalty. But what happens when that foundation crumbles under the weight of their behavior? What happens when you realize that the pillars you thought were holding you up were, in reality, the very things keeping you trapped? When the cruelty came, it wasn't just an attack on your spirit, it was a wake-up call, a crack in the illusion they had built around you. You began to see things clearly. The affection they showed you wasn't as genuine as you had believed. The loyalty they claimed was selective and fragile, only offered when it was convenient for them, and the support they provided wasn't truly supportive at all. It was performative, conditional, and rooted in their own need for control. They were never the foundation you thought they were placeholders. The moment you stopped relying on them for your sense of worth and safety, your entire perspective shifted. You realized that you didn't need them at all. What they had tried to convince you was essential to your existence, your sense of belonging, was actually nothing but a mirage. They weren't pillars. They were just people who occupied space in your life that you had been too blind to see you could fill yourself. This revelation didn't come all at once. It came in pieces, like layers of paint being stripped from an old, weathered canvas until the raw truth was exposed underneath. You were holding on to people who were draining you, not sustaining you. And when that truth settled in your heart, when you realized the true source of your strength, that's when the real transformation began. The real shift didn't happen when you finally cut ties with them, though that was important. It didn't even happen when you walked away. It happened when you realized that their absence brought you peace instead of emptiness. The silence from them was no longer a punishment. It was relief. What they had taken from you was nothing more than an illusion, something they had you believe you needed to survive. Their rejection wasn't a reflection of your worth. It was simply a reflection of who they were and who they failed to be. And in that space of peace, you began to realize something profound. You had always been whole. The strength you thought you needed from them had always been within you. Your soul had been building you from the inside out, and once you stopped seeking validation from people who could never truly give it, you tapped into that wellspring of power that had been there all along. What's powerful is that you didn't need to beg for their approval. You didn't need them to recognize your worth. Your spirit was already calibrated to the truth. You didn't need their version of love, because it was never love to begin with. What you needed was the love you had for yourself. What you needed was the strength to walk away from relationships that kept you small, that kept you dependent, and that kept you in a cycle of self-doubt. By the time you rose from the chaos, you weren't the same person who had entered it. You weren't broken. You weren't waiting for apologies. You didn't need them to understand you. You didn't need them to make amends. You simply became who you were always meant to be, sovereign, whole, and untouchable. What broke wasn't you. It was the spell they had cast over your perception, the illusion that they were the ones who had the power over your life. You have always been the creator of your own life. They were never meant to define you. They were never meant to be the source of your strength. And once you realized this, their control over you vanished. You walked away not just free from them, but free from the belief that you needed anyone else to dictate your path. Have you ever wondered how much of your strength was always there, hidden behind the layers of dependence and doubt? How many times have you placed your worth in the hands of people who couldn't see your value, while all along the power to heal, to grow, and to rise was within you? In John 8:32, it says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The truth is, you were never dependent on them. You were always meant to stand on your own, and when you realized that, everything changed. The chains they had wrapped around your self-worth began to dissolve, and you stepped into the truth that you have always been enough. What did you learn about your own strength when you were forced to stand alone? Was it difficult at first, or did you feel a sense of relief as you realized that the only approval you needed was your own? In Isaiah 41:10, God promises, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." These words ring with truth, because when you stopped relying on others for your strength, you began to rely on the one who created you. You became the person you were always meant to be, and you did so with the strength and guidance of the Creator. As we bring this journey to a close, it's important to pause and reflect on what has truly transpired. The story we've explored is not just about personal struggle or overcoming adversity. It's about recognizing the power within yourself to break free from the limitations imposed by others. Your journey, the one you've traveled through pain, betrayal, and rejection, has led you to this moment of clarity. You've uncovered the truth that you don't need anyone's approval to thrive, that you've always had the strength within you, and that the illusions others tried to create about you were never your reality. It's not just about surviving the storm, it's about realizing that you were the force that made the storm calm, the one who turned the darkness into light. Your story will make you famous, not because of what you went through, but because it reveals the power of reclaiming your truth, standing in your authenticity, and walking away from the chains that once held you back. The process of awakening is not easy, but it is necessary. And the most beautiful part of it all, you didn't just heal, You became the living proof of what's possible when you shed the weight of others' expectations and let your light shine unapologetically. I invite you to take this powerful message and let it guide you. Share your own story in the comments. Let this be a community where we inspire each other, where we find strength in our shared experiences, and where we grow together in the knowledge that we are not alone. If you found this video impactful, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support helps this message reach more people who need to hear it. I want to thank all of you, whether you've supported this channel through likes, comments, or even super thanks. Every interaction means the world to me, and I am so grateful for your presence in this space. As we close, I leave you with this. Your journey is sacred. Your ability to rise from the ashes is divine. The healing you've done is not just for you, it's a beacon for others who may still be lost in their own struggle. You were never meant to walk this path alone. You have become the light for someone else's darkness, and your truth is a compass pointing them toward their own freedom. May peace continue to fill your heart. May you embrace the strength you've always had. May you stand firm in your truth, no matter how hard it gets. And may you continue to grow, evolve, and inspire the world with the power of your story. Thank you again for being here, sending you blessings of peace, love, and endless strength. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.